All right, hold on.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Sorry for the delay. I'm just getting back. I'm officially in Chicago now. Heading back to the West Coast. Stop by Chi-Town. I'm actually from St. Louis, Missouri, so I'm super excited about that. And so here we have an amazing person that I wanted to just kind of give a lot of people an open idea of just working in the corporate world, corporate America, and being a loan signing agent, right? Being a notary public, and how far is the glass ceiling? Is there even a tap with the glass ceiling of where you can really actually go? So my wonderful friend from Northern California, Miss Robertson, she is such an amazing person. For those of you that don't know her, I speak about her a lot in my Clubhouse room every Wednesday in Clubhouse. It's like notary season. It's It's Notary CNN, and we actually go live and talk everything notary. And so I wanted to give it up to Miss Robertson and
Robinson.
Wanted to talk to her and just kind of see what we have. Put your questions in the chat if you have them. We really want to dive deep to see, like, how did she scale her business to where it was? How long did it take? What are some of just the nuggets, notary gems that we are all looking for if you work a 9 to 5, and even not just a 9 to 5, all of the effort that she put in. I always talk about her, and I'm telling you, the woman is not just earning 10K. She just made it. I always believe in her. From day one, I said, oh, you're a 10K earner, right? But she also has multiple streams of income from notary outside of her 10K. So I just wanted to really just talk to her and just kind of see what her story is and get to know her, okay? So introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hi, everyone. I am Dominica Robinson. I am here in the great state of California, Northern California, Sacramento area. And I started my notary loan signing business 2 years ago. I just made 2 years yesterday, actually. Celebrated that. Yeah, super excited. And so let's see how I got into the business. I really have a love for real estate. And so I was starting to dive in. I have a typical, I guess you want to say 9 to 5. I work for the government. And, I just got to the point where I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had my hand in different pots. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? Because I don't know about everybody else, but, the going to work every day, getting a check, it doesn't get you to where you need to be, right? If you want to get to the point where you want to acquire any type of wealth, you want to leave your children things, create legacy, it just doesn't happen with a regular job, right? I know that. I think a lot of people know that. So I'm like, what is my next move, right? And so I thought I was going to be a real estate agent. That didn't work out. I was looking at other things, and I stumbled upon loan signing. And I figured, this will be a perfect fit for me. After I did my research, I thought it would be perfect fit. And initially, everyone, I really just thought I had a dollar amount in mind. I said, if I make this amount every month, it'll, get me to where I can pay off some debt. I can start saving money. I'll be able to start acquiring, more assets, right? That was my initial thought. That's what I thought, right? And then once I got into it and I just saw how kind of the sky was the limit, even though, I have a job, I still was able to make way more than that initial dollar amount that I thought. I was thinking small, to be honest with you. When I first started, I was thinking small. Then when I saw how the business really ran and how far you can scale it, I was like, wait a minute, I'm thinking too small on this business, and I really started to dive in and see how, I could grow it. Anyway, it's just been growing ever since, month after month. And like I said, in year 2, I'm doing amazingly well. And I've been able to, like you said, branch off other income streams, and it's taking on a life of itself, really.
Wow, wow. No, that was definitely a eye opener of just like your journey to how you even found the business, right?
Mhm.
So let's dive a little bit deeper. Are you married? Do you have
I
kids? What is
am.
life outside
Yeah.
of just working a notary business or working a corporate
Girl,
America?
life
Like,
is
are you
crazy.
superwoman?
Life
Like,
is crazy. I have to admit, people ask me this a lot, and I have to be very honest about it. Life is crazy. I'm married, and I have 3 kids. 2 live in the home with me. One is away in college. And my family, to be perfectly honest, sees a lot less of me than they used to before I started this business. So it's become an adjustment for everybody in the house. They're not getting the meals I used to cook every day. That's not happening anymore. A lot of things have changed, However, what's really important with being able to scale all these things is a lot of planning and a lot of goal setting. And so I communicate a lot with my family and my kids, like, hey, this is what a goal I'm trying to reach. So it's not going to be like this forever. I'm not going to be, MIA forever. I just need this amount of time to get to this point. And then, you guys will start to see a little bit more again. So it's a communication factor. Things have definitely changed. I don't believe in the phrase, people say you could do it all. You can, but not all at once. You know what I mean? Some things are gonna go lacking. You just have to be honest about that. I
okay.
My kids and my husband don't see me as much as they used to. I'm not at home as much as I used to be at home. So you have to be honest with yourself about those things if you're trying to juggle a job, a business, and family. Like, something is going to lack a little bit. You know what I mean? Your time is going to go, because you only get so many hours in a day, right? So that time you might have been, at home cooking a homemade dinner. Now I'm out doing signings. So something is going to be pulled from somewhere because we only have 24 hours in a day. So yeah, I got a lot going on, but I'm trying to manage it the best I can.
So yeah, talking about management. So you're saying that you have a full-time work schedule. You work notary part-time and you have a full, like, huge family, right? How do you manage it all? I mean, just how?
Well,
Like, do you have like a day where you're just like, okay, no notary, this is family day? Like, how do you just kind of do that? And I know you
yeah,
mentor too.
definitely. So every day is scheduled. Every day is scheduled. Like, it gets to the point sometimes it might sound a little, rigid, but like I literally have to schedule every day, or else things will just go awry. So yeah, Sundays I don't do anything. Sunday is family day. That's when I spend time with my family, church, just basically all my me stuff. But Monday through Friday, it's crazy from the time we wake up in the morning until, sometimes late in the evening. But the way things work, like I said, everything is scheduled. Like, even today I had to schedule, I did like a little treats for a couple of my escrow officers, and they had to be delivered at a certain time. So I'll even schedule like a little alarms for myself to remind me, okay, this, you have to now call in your orders, or just everything has to be scheduled. So if you look at my calendar, it's very detailed, and everything is scheduled because, yeah, you have to prioritize everything. And then you have to, once you prioritize everything, stay committed to it, because it's really easy some days. This is tiring, by the time the end of the month comes, I'm sometimes so tired, I was just like, I can't. So um once you do prioritize things, then you have to stick with them, because there'll be days where I'm like, dang, I'm tired. I look at my schedule and I be like,
Mm,
I don't want to do all these things on this schedule,
right.
but you have to. You know what I mean? So those are the times where I remind myself, what am I working towards? What's my goal? Okay, come on now. You gotta get it done. Because there will come days where you be like, I don't feel like doing this. And I'll talk a lot about that to some of the people that I've mentored, because, some people come to me and they're like, oh, they're not seeing the results that they want to see. And it's like, well, did you do the 10 things that I told you to do on the list? Oh no, they didn't do it. So it's like, I know it's a lot, I know it's gonna tire you out, but I mean, you got to do it. If you want the result, you have to do it. So yeah, I don't.
No, I love that. Ask yourself what you're doing it for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really ask yourself, what are you doing it for? When everyone literally, like, sometimes I'm just like, man, in order for me to stay consistent with getting up at 3 a.m., sometimes I'm like, oh, I love getting up early, but that doesn't mean I want to talk at 3 a.m.,
Yeah,
right?
oh
Maybe 4
Lord.
o'clock, right? But it's
Yeah.
staying consistent, right? And who am I to say that if I can't do it, then why would I coach and, tell other people to do it also, right?
Right.
So you have to like lead in the example. And so I love the fact that you really talked about just you schedule everything, even to the littlest thing, dropping off gifts to your direct clients. You schedule everything. And sometimes you look at that alarm and you say, I don't want to do it, but you remember the purpose. So definitely, if anyone in the chat watching the live, let us know, like, what are you committed to? And that's like a little secret, like schedule everything. How many people have Google Calendar, right? That is like my best friend. And then I saw like a little widget on iPhones that you can actually make your calendar one of the biggest things that pop up. And you can see your calendar without actually going into it. So that's one of the things that I just learned.
Oh, well, I need to do that then.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
on in my
I don't know if I
calendar
can show you that,
every
but I
day.
learned it at the conference. I don't know if you can see it, but I learned it at the conference. It's like a big old box right here. That is my schedule, and you can't see it. It's like right here. It's huge. Right.
Oh, no,
You
I
really
didn't
can't
know
see
you
it.
could do that. I've been
And
using Siri a lot, and so you can tell Siri, I'm like, Siri, open my calendar for the day, or open my calendar for the 15th, or open my.
okay.
Yeah, that is working for me.
I didn't know you
Pretty
could do
well.
that much Siri.
Girl, Siri be helping me all day long, all day, every day. I'm like, Siri, put this on my calendar, put it on my calendar. He's like, all right, all right, all right. I have a male voice on mine, but
Okay. I'm an Alexa girl. I'm an Alexa. I'll say, Alexa, read my calendar. I'll say, Alexa, what is my appointment today? So I'm definitely Alexa.
My husband likes Alexa too. He got Alexas all in the house, girl. I can't stand her. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
I love Alexa. And Alexa sometimes thinks that I'll be talking to her, and I was like, Alexa, not right now.
Right. Girl.
Okay, so someone said in the chat, marketing for sure, but looking for better methods. What would you tell people when it comes to how were you able to go from where you were to where you are now when it comes to your marketing strategies, right? What kind of did it? Did you fail in some of your previously attempts, right? And then realize like maybe that wasn't the best thing, of the time or the best gift. Or I remember that when we first talked, right? You did baskets, right? And you buy them from like Amazon, right? And some people used to personally make them. And time is at the essence. I never had
no, I'm not making no
baskets.
I'm not making no baskets.
Right. So what are some of your tips that you would love to share, with us? Just marketing.
Yeah, so I phoned in on a marketing strategy that works for me. And I'll tell you what that is, but I also want to say that it's very important to find something that works for you and your personality type, because everybody's personality is different. And so if you try to do something that really is not a good fit for you, it's not going to work. You know what I mean? So my example for that, like, I don't really do a lot of cold marketing because it's awkward for me. And no matter how good, I present myself at it, it still is kind of awkward, and it just, it's not a good fit for me. So what I found is I've leveraged my personal network. And so I started doing that from the day that I started my business. The day before my commission even came in the mail, I went through my entire contact list from friends, family, acquaintances, even real estate agents that sold us our house 10 years ago. I went through every single person, hundreds of people, and let everybody know that, hey, I have this notary business now, and that's how I began to leverage my personal network. And from doing that, I got a good 6 contacts, of real estate agents, loan officers, people in the real estate field, to be like, oh, okay, that's what you're into now. And just following up with them. And then friends, around the time that I started my business, I had like 2 friends that were buying homes, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to ask if we could use you on our loan. And a lot of people don't even know that they could choose their own notary. And we've talked about this before. Some people act funny about it, but I don't even focus on that. Majority of people are open to it. A majority of people will allow the client, the real estate agent, whoever, to choose their own notary. However, that's just doing that one signing. The key after that is to keep leaning in and keep following up to get more business. Because of course they'll let you do the one signing to just appease their client. And then after that, they're like, bye. You know what I mean? But after that, it's still, for me anyways, it works for me. Once I get that which I feel like is a warm introduction via, a friend letting me do their signing, or a real estate agent saying, hey, I want Dominica to do this signing. Once I get that introduction, they've seen how well I do the signing, right? So from there, like, what's the problem? Why you gonna give me, basically, you're gonna want to give me all your signings. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? You've seen the service that I've provided on this one, and I keep following up from there. And that's how I've gotten really all my direct clients. I have 4 direct clients now, and I've gotten all 4 of them just basically by leveraging my network, wow. And then from there, they'll start telling other colleagues, that they use you. I've gotten other direct spot like that. They'll call like, oh, you've done a signing for such and such in my office. Can you go do this signing for me? And it'll be a one-off thing. And then I'll start leaning into them, but it's always all my directs and all the direct connections I've got have always been like a third party has, opened the door or introduced or something, you know what I mean? That's the tactic that I use. This past month, about a month ago, I decided to just get out of my comfort zone and start, marketing in other ways. I want to try to kick down the door and do things that I'm not comfortable with, just to kind of challenge myself. But I always go back to the networking, or the warm connections have really built my business, honestly. So, and it works for me. It works for me. So.
No, absolutely. No, that's great. So I guess when you talk about your network, right? So you actually went through your entire contact list, right, on your entire phone, and let other people know who you are and what you was doing, right? Saying,
yep. I'm a notary. And on all my social medias, I went through all my friends list, because I don't know about you guys, but like on Facebook, for instance, I got people I went to high school with. They're not necessarily in my phone book, you know what I mean? But they're on my friends list. So I went through my friends list on Facebook, my friends list on Instagram. I went through everything. You know what I mean? And that's how, people get to talking. Or if people are like, oh, I don't know anybody, but my friend is a real estate agent. He might know somebody, or she might. I mean, it just goes from there.
No,
so
wow.
I've gotten so many contacts like that. And then even real estate agents that I know that have used me, they'll start telling other real estate agents, that needs a notary. Oh, here, call Dominica or whatever. I've had like at least 3 real estate agents call me from a referral from another real estate agent, so those are the people that I zone into for marketing. I don't necessarily, I've walked into title companies before, but that's not my judge. That's not my main course of action,
Oh, no, that is definitely helpful. That's definitely helpful in fighting. So what type of treat do you bring? So when it comes to like, you got to contact, you got to introduce, right? Let's just say your girlfriend said, hey, I'm actually buying a house, Ms. Robertson, and I wanted you to be my loan signing. I got your message, but it took some time. It was a spare over a year from her knowing that you were, a notary, and they reached out. How do you cultivate that relationship after you actually did that first signing, right, with the company?
Yeah. So after I do the first signing, I just do general follow-ups. I try to be genuine. This is hard to describe, but I don't like to be fake. You know what I mean? So I'll follow up, but I don't like it to be stale. I don't like it to just be like, hey, I'm following up. I genuinely understand now the value of relationship building. So when I follow up, a lot of times it's just really like, hey, how are you doing? or I'll try to connect with something maybe the first time that we met and kind of chat about it. I do obviously do treats because honestly, everybody loves the treats. Everybody loves the gifts, and so I always do thank you cards, on that initial signing that I'm given. And there's always going to be like a Starbucks card, or sometimes I'll even go to Starbucks and bring the coffee when I come drop off the docs the next day. They really like that, and it opens conversations. I like to do things that will trigger a conversation too. I'm a big supporter of local businesses. So a lot of times when I'm bringing something, I'll go get the coffee like from my local coffee shop right here instead of like Starbucks, to kind of open that conversation like, oh, this is a local coffee shop that I frequent and they have really good coffee, or things that I really genuinely like and that I'm into. So like I said, it won't be fake. You know what I mean? Or I have a lot of friends who are creatives and they have businesses where they make cookies or candies or, and stuff like that. So I always like to patronize those types of businesses and give those as treats. So it'll be like, this is something they've never had before. And then I can open up conversation and dialogues about, my love for supporting small businesses. And like, this is a really good candy. You're going to love it. You ain't never had nothing like this before. So I really just engage in conversations with stuff that is genuine, that I really like. So it doesn't, because I think the kind of just like stale, like, hey, I'm here, I'm good, it just gets kind of fake after a while. You know what I mean? And it's like,
no, I understand. No, definitely. I remember one post that you stated, or I think we spoke, and you just said that you did the cookie run and you did it from your local bake shop during, I think, a particular holiday. And I was like, oh, wow. You just like, I went all the way out of my way to get those cookies, and you had to drop them off. Yeah,
I know somebody who makes really good cookies. I'm really big on that. Me and my husband were just talking about that. I go out my way to support small businesses. I really always have, especially minority-owned businesses. I'm really big on that. I'm really big on like circulating the dollar, in our community. So I really advocate for that, especially now that I'm having more, I have more resources. So now I really want to, put those dollars there. So if I'm going to be buying gifts or doing this or that, I'm generally going to be spending with small businesses, and then telling other people about it, because if I'm giving it gifts, that opens a dialogue for me to tell them, hey, check this business out, especially if they like it, which they end up liking it. So
no, I think that was a huge notary gem. Engaging in the conversation where 9 times out of 10, they never received this type of cookie. They never received this type of gift, and it's going to open. Like, I love the fact of being real and not being fake, right? And thinking outside of the box, like, okay, yes, I can make this basket, but if I go to this local shop and get something that is a treat, I'm pretty sure I can just spin it where I'm just like, oh, well, the local shop that I actually go to, they have phenomenal cookies, right? And they're like, what local shop is that? And then the next time, since you introduce something to them, they're going to always think about you next time they go. And I know that's every time someone tell me about a restaurant, and if I fall in love with it, I always think about the other person. I'm quick to say, oh my God, I ate the spaghetti there, and I thought that it was the best spaghetti ever. Did my own spaghetti. And I think that it's like my due diligence that I give, and I'm excited to like tell someone else about a new experience that I partake in. So I love that. I think that's a really huge like marketing gem, just being very intentional with what you do. Like anyone can buy anything and ship it now. Like you can buy flowers and ship it. You can buy stuff off of Amazon and ship it. It's more so thinking outside of the box and supporting your small businesses, because we are a small business as notary. Wouldn't we want them to support us? Rather than going to your local UPS store, you can call up your small business that is a notary and do due diligence to them and help them out. So I think it's shifting the mindset. I think that's the whole thing in your marketing thing, shipping that mindset. And I think that it will go a long way.
Yes. And I love that. I love when people call me for general notary work, because it's like, you could have just went to the UPS store, you know what I mean? But the fact that you called me to do your notarization, I love that,
No, I think that is wonderful. I think that's wonderful. I think we had another question in the chat that said, did you go into title offices unannounced? Do you market by email or a combination of both?
I discourage emails when you're dealing with title companies because they're so busy. Like they're not gonna really pay attention to it. They're gonna delete them. Like time and time again, if you ask any escrow officer that, they're gonna tell you that they delete the messages. It's like they're too busy. They're too busy. And I want to follow up with saying I would always go in. Definitely go in. From my experience, I've learned they're really busy on Mondays and Fridays. So I don't go in on Mondays and Fridays. And it's also really important if you're gonna go into a title office to connect with that person at the front desk. I've been telling everybody this: connect with the receptionist, connect with the assistant, because 9 times out of 10, they're the ones that are doing the scheduling. They're the ones that are picking the notaries. You know, everybody wants to get in and get to the escrow officer. It's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I have relationships with my escrow officers, but I'm telling you guys, I'm tighter with their assistants because their assistants are the ones doing all the work. You know what I mean? They're the ones doing all the work. So if you're gonna go into those offices, connect with that receptionist, connect with that assistant, because they're the ones. And yeah, I definitely would not. I would follow up with emails, you know, but not try to just market to somebody just off of email alone, because the transaction is too personal. You know, they want to see who's going to be in front of their clients. These transactions are big. They're important. They want someone that's going to be an extension of them, to represent them. So they don't know who that is over email. That could be anybody. You can look any old kind of way. You know, I've had escrow officers say like they want to see how you dress. They want to see how you show up, you know, because that's how you're going to show up for their clients, right? So an email is not going to cut it. Like if you're doing emails, that's not going to cut it. And then once you do go in and introduce yourself, then I feel like it's work after that, because again, they get so busy, they will forget, you know, a day or two later. So you have to, you know, follow up and stay on their mind and keep reminding them, because this business is so fast paced and so busy. And it's like, yeah. So yeah, emails. Once you get in good, I'll say this, the relationships I have built, like I said, we now into the 2nd year, and the relationships keep evolving, and they, you know, we're getting tighter and tighter over the years. Now, you know, most of them will just text me, you know, they'll just text, and now I have their personal numbers.
Right. You mentioned that a lot. You're just like, oh my God, you're just like best friends with them, where they
it gets cool at that point. Now you got their personal phone numbers, you know, they text you. Now it becomes it just happens organically, like anybody you're friends with or getting to know over time. You know, you're gonna want to start talking to them about things or sharing things with them, or, you know, we'll joke around, or, you know, whatever. So but it has to evolve that.
No, yeah, definitely. You bring them into the family. I think that's super important when it comes to just marketing, being personable, and it's so many people, but you're cultivating that relationship. I think that's the key, and keeping that mindset. I guess some people wanted to see
clients request me on Facebook too. You know, some of them want to get into you know, they want to see like, okay, who is this person really? So, you know, I'm even more mindful of that, because once I start marketing to people, I was kind of surprised. I had like a couple escrow officers send me friend requests on Facebook, and I was like, okay, you know, what y'all want to see, but it's cool.
Yeah, so be mindful of everything, your social media platform, what you post, what you say, because they want to know who they're working with, right? Yeah. You showed up nice, you dressed nice, but what do you do outside of your 9 to 5, right? Yeah, and they want to make sure that you're representing them. So kind of be mindful of what you post, what you do, and things like that. I know a couple of my coaching students, they found them on Instagram automatically, didn't ask for their tag, their hashtag, they didn't ask for anything. They just automatically found them, and then, you know, share what was the gift, right, that was given to them, right? And so they were super shocked, you know, when that happened. Several of my students were super shocked because of the fact that you have to be mindful. It's a business, and they're going to fight. Just like how you interview for a job, right? They're going to vet you through in any part of the government, right? They're going to vet you through. So imagine when you're representing them, they want to know who you are too. Right. So I guess the next question that we have on the table, everybody want to know, how do you do it? What is a day in the life of Miss Robinson working full time Monday through Friday and
It's
implementing
tiring.
like notary. So what does that day look like time wise? In the morning you do what? And then in
Man,
the noon you do what? And then in
yeah.
the evening you do what?
So yeah, let me tell you, it's tiring. And some days I'm up till 1 in the morning or later. You know, it's tiring. It depends on my day. So I don't like you. I don't get up. Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, let me just preface this by saying I know for myself, this is not like something I would suggest anybody to maintain long term. Like for me, this is something I'm doing now, but it's like I know this is not forever. Like the hours that I work now, yeah, it's not sustainable. You know, I work now anywhere from like 12 to 14 hours a day, you know. And when I say work, I'm not doing signings for 12 to 14 hours a day. I'm not doing my 9 to 5, 12 to 14 hours a day. When I say work, I mean everything that's included with my kids, my house, my business, my job, I consider all of that work. My YouTube channel, my social media, my t-shirt lines, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of things going on. So when I say 12 to 14 hours a day, I don't want people to think I'm signing for 12 to 14 hours a day or that I'm working my job 12 to 14 hours a day. I'm counting that as everything that's under my umbrella, which, you know, is the loan signing, is my 9 to 5, is my YouTube channel, is my social media outlets, is my mentoring, is my t-shirts. You know, I have now a small signing service. So, you know, that's encompassing all of that, right? And so my day starts around 7, around 7. And that's just me getting up. I'm logging into both my computers here. I have one for my job, one for my business. I'm either, I print, let me back up. I'll kind of start the night before. So my documents and stuff for my loan signings for the day are already printed out. I'll check in with work when I first get up in the morning. Then I have to get my son to school. Once I get him off to school, he starts school about 9. I'll typically do one or two things. I'll either come back home and start doing some work for my job, or I might have a signing that morning because I will do signings in the morning and come back and do work, or sometimes I'll work and then do signings. So it just depends when I'm needed. So I honestly will schedule my day around when I'm needed to do loan signings. So sometimes that's earlier in the day and sometimes that's evening. I also do signings during my lunchtime. You know, I've had people ask me, about like, oh, how can you do signings, when you have a job? I'm like, you have to get creative. You have to be open to doing signings before work. You have to be open to doing signings at lunchtime. And then, of course, everybody thinks, okay, how many signings can I do after work? But you could fit in signings other times throughout the day, I do at least. Some people go as far as saying that they just can't, that they're chained to a desk or something like that. I'm not. So I'll just preface that by saying that. So I kind of center everything around how many appointments I have for the day. And then that'll indicate how early I need to start my day, how late my day is going to go. I'll sign also really late, like this last month of August when I was trying to reach my goal. I signed as late as 9 p.m. So I was out. I had several signings during that time. People always ask their signings late. Yes, like every day I have a request for a signing at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to do, 3 signings, 4 signings in a day with a job. It's not hard to do, but you're going to be working long hours. You're going to be having to get up early or stay up late. It's going to be one or the other. So, throughout the day, I'm, like I said, signing or doing my 9 to 5 work. I'm usually done with my job really early, like 3, 4 o'clock at the latest. You know what I mean? So 3, 4 o'clock, I'm done with my government job. And then the rest of my time is either going to be signing, or I have specific times that I dedicate to content creation. So the days that I'm doing content creation, I won't really take signings because it's too much, It is. So I'll have days that I'll choose specifically, and those days vary throughout the week. that I'll choose, and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to be doing content creation. This is where I'm going to be editing. My editing usually happens very late at night. So when I'm up to 1 a.m. and things like that, I'm usually editing or working on getting, video scheduled to post. That's what I'm usually doing in the wee hours of the night because it's quiet, everybody's asleep, I don't have any disturbances. And then like content creation, like shooting videos, I usually do that kind of around this time when my kids are gone, because once they get home, there is going to be noise. They're going to be busted in here. It's just going to be too much. So I usually end my day, like work wise, it's hard to say that when I shut off because it hardly shuts off until I close my eyes and go to sleep at night. I'll take breaks in the evening, like around 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I'll stop to where, we're doing dinner or, trying to get the kids settled, get the house settled and get them in the bed. And then once I do that, I'm back on my computer doing something, some type of work. There are days too with my job, I do have the flexibility, like if I have done signings, sometimes in the afternoon that run over, I'll end up, after my kids go to sleep, I'll log back on to my computer and I might be doing work for my job, so it just kind of depends on the day, but overall that's how things look. And I really honestly am not done working until I close my eyes.
Oh, wow.
Wake up the next morning and do it again.
You sound just like me. Yeah, absolutely. But I gave up that editing. I just outsourced that. I can't do it. I'm not trying to, but you have to pick and choose what you want to outsource and what you don't, right? And you just can't do everything, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you gave us a huge insight of a day in the life of just working a corporate job, having a full-fledged family, right, with 3 kids, right, being married, and then doing loan signing. And that's not just, you made loan signing, $10K by yourself, right? Yeah. On top of that, just all the other stuff that you have, like you're a YouTuber, right? You have merchandise. Tell people where they can kind of find all of these other things that you have, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you can find everything on my website, dsignsnotaryservices.com. You can find out more about my company. You can find links to my YouTube channel, to my merchandise, to all my social medias right there, dsignsnotaryservices.com. Yeah.
Okay. No, absolutely. I think that was just excellent when it comes to just telling us a day of a life of that. So I guess let's dive a little bit deeper, if that's okay. When you started off, what was the dollar amount that you start taking signings, where you're just like, I'm not taking signings for a certain amount? And when did you start to know your self-worth? After understanding being new, how long did it take for you to know your self-worth, where you're like, I'm not leaving the house until it's X amount of dollars? Because a lot of people make 10K, right? That I have noticed, right? But they do it with 150 signings a month, right?
I know, I've seen that.
Like
I've seen that.
180 signings a month. And I'm just like, I didn't do it, right? I didn't do it. When I hit mine, I couldn't do it, right?
Exactly.
So in other words, I thought more shifting my mentality. I didn't take everything, right? I knew my self-worth, right? And I teach other students their self-worth. When is that transition period? And I remember when we used to Zoom all the time, right? And it was like that transition period where it may be slow and your schedule may be empty, right? But you got to believe in yourself that it's going to come. And when it comes, man, it comes.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that kind of stretch.
Yeah, it was a couple of things that occurred. It took me a while, and I would say it took me about 6 months or so for the shift to happen. And there was a few things that happened. I mean, number one, it was my confidence, initially, for whatever reason, I was still not confident enough in myself and my abilities to say, this is what my service is worth. I was just more so like, whatever came in, I'll take it, and I was not strategic initially about what I was taking. So let's say a signing came in or two signings came in and for $75 or $80, and I would just take it because I was just happy to be getting signings. And mind you, when I started, like I said earlier, I had already tapped into my network who was connecting me with real estate agents who had connected me with title companies. So I already had that in. But instead of me pressing into that, I was just like, oh, whatever comes on my phone today, I'm just going to take. Not even like there was no rhyme or reason. Like I wasn't really being strategic about it. And then I think it was a month that I had gotten like my first, I had gotten some of my first signings with one of my top paying title companies, and they pay me like $200 a signing. And I saw like, okay, I only did a couple signings for them and made like, I would have to do like 4 or 5 signings to make what I just made doing a few signings for them. You know what I mean? So I was just like, what am I doing? Like, it just clicked. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like you just said, I see those numbers too. And it kind of bothers me. Like, okay, the people are doing the 10,000 numbers or more, but they're doing hundreds of signings a month. Like, you don't have to do that. You do not have to do that because there are so many title companies out here who are going to pay you the full rate, and we don't lean into that for whatever reasons. I know mine, like I said, one was confidence and one was just me not being strategic in my business mind. You know what I mean? I was just kind of flailing along and just saying, okay, as long as I make an additional $3,000 a month or $3,500 a month, that's going to get me, out of this little hole that I want to get out of. And that's enough for me. However I get it, I get it. You know what I mean? That's how I was thinking. I wasn't thinking on the level that I'm thinking now, so there was just a shift in my mentality once I saw like, oh no, wait a minute, this is something I could build out. Like I'm tripping. I really got to sit back and reevaluate some things. And it took me about 6 months or so. And at that 6-month mark or so, I went through and I took several people off my list. I took a lot of signing services off my list, because what was starting to happen too with that is, let's say I would fill up my schedule for the evening, and then one of these title companies will call me and it's like, oh, I can't do the signing, and they won't keep calling you if you tell them no. You know what I mean? Especially, I learned my lesson with that. I had one that I was, I had got them some treats or something like that, and they loved it so much. They called me, I think like twice, and I had the nerve not to be available. And I was just like, okay, Dominique, you tripping. Like that really made me like check myself. Like, you're going about this the whole wrong way. You know what I mean? And so I just had to take the leap and I cut these companies off, and I just stopped taking appointments from them. And I left myself open, and I let the companies know that had reached out to me that I was open. And luckily, most of them, still were there to feed me business. I lost one like that. The one that I was talking about, she was just like cool on me after I told her no. Like, I think I told her no twice, and she just was done, and it was crazy because she was so open to working with me, and she loved the treats and stuff I brought. And then, so it just didn't even make sense. I was leading into them, marketing to them, and then she called me, and I was just like, oh, like it just didn't make sense, So I was just like, you're tripping. So anyways, now I got a whole nother program working over here, and it took a while though for me to.
Yeah, I remember where you just kind of made that transition where you just like, okay, I can't say no, right? Mm-hmm. If I want to continue to reap all of the things that I put effort towards, I can't say no. I have to work it in my schedule somehow. So I remember you used to make say particular, you work, right? So you have priorities, right? You'll always say, I am available at this time, but not give them a no. Like, yes, if they want 9 o'clock, you can say, well, I can do it at 11 during my lunch break, right? If you're still available, rather than shooting them down and say, no, I can't. You give them another alternative.
Yeah, so I never say no. I never say no, and I will too. I mean, now I'm pretty much signing off for my directs, but were there times where I still had a mixture, I would just say yes to them and move my other appointments. I got to that point too, because I'm just like, I'm a dime a dozen for them. You know, if a signing service, they'll find somebody else, you know, if I'll just move it. And 9 times out of 10, the borrower can move the appointment anyway. They're like, yeah, okay, fine, I can move the appointment. And so I just stopped saying no altogether. You know, it's very, very, very rare now that I even do that I even say, oh, I could do it at this time. The only time that I'll do that now is like if I do have times, and it's usually once the month end is over, where I'm scheduling appointments for myself, you know, to go get my hair done or go do something for myself. If I have time blocked off for that and they call me, it's like, okay, girl, no, I could do it at this time, because I'm not changing those appointments, because you have to, like I said, some way, somehow
Self-care.
fit things in, you know, for yourself and your family, or it's just going to go awry. So if I have stuff blocked off for my self-care or for my family, those are not negotiable. I'm just, you know, I'll work around them. I'll still tell them, hey, I could do it at this time. But, you know, if I'm taking my son to the movies at 1, then that's what it is. I'm not changing that, you know?
No, absolutely. I wanted to address some of the questions that we have some people in the chat that are asking, if you don't mind. Do you mind?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, perfect. So we had Sharon ask us several questions, and I think we kind of looked at some. So one of the questions said, how do you talk about we talked about it, but early on, how did you talk about explain your availability? You work a 9 to 5. Let's just say your job is more flexible than most, right? Or how do you explain to your boss that you have to take a longer lunch, right? Or are you very strategic of what type of signings you accept during lunchtime? More so a seller package and a purchase versus a refinance. Like, what is that conversation of how do you explain your availabilities to escrow when you work full time, right? And more so, they wanted to know, when you talked about your contact list, what do you say? Like, can you share what you say when you're sending out these communications from your contact? I think those were a couple of the questions that were kind of reached.
Yeah, sure. So when I did the whole thing going through my contact list, I made a flyer. With my picture on it, with my rates, with all the information about my business. Very, you know, not a whole lot, something that was, you know, simple little bullet points. And I know people make those flyers and they take them to the escrow offices, you know, same concept. So when I sent the text message, I drafted something just fairly simple, telling them that, hey, I started this new notary loan signing business. This is what I do. This is how I can serve you and your clients. And then I would attach my little flyer to it, you know? So it wasn't anything elaborate, maybe like a little paragraph, a little blurb, and then I just continue to send that out over and over again. I would change it a little bit depending on who I was sending it to, you know, but it basically just was an introduction to me and who I am and what I do. And, you know, I would include my rates on there. If it was going to certain people, like any real estate professional, sometimes I want to know that. So yeah, I suggest making, like, you know, I just made a simple little Word document, and, you know, it had my picture on it and a little paragraph that's short and sweet and to the point, just introducing yourself and your business. That's all it was. And I just blasted that out to hundreds of people. Yeah.
Hundreds of
And
people.
then that is a really good question that she asked about the communication piece. I really want to touch on that. So none of my clients I've ever talked to about me having a job. I don't even think any of them know I have a job. Like, you don't even want to because they don't care about that. They really don't. That's not something it's something really, honestly, that would turn them off. So I wouldn't even, I've never had that discussion with any of my direct clients, because you don't want to come at them like that. Honestly, you don't want to come at them of like, just off the bat, like, this is my availability. This is, because it turns them off. The way that they work and the way that they think is very fast paced, and all they care about is, are you going to be available to me when I need you? That's all they really care about, to be honest with you. And when it comes to us as notary loan signing agents, they need these documents done and done right and turned over. They don't care about your schedule. They don't care what hours you work. They don't care what time your lunch is. They don't care about none of that. So please don't tell them that, because they don't care. And they're going to stop listening when you start trying to run that list off to them. They don't care. Trust me. So I don't have those conversations with them. I just let them know that the areas that I'll go to, if they ask me about rates, we'll talk about that. And I'm available. That's what I tell them. Call me. I got you. I'm available. I'm professional. I'm efficient. You're gonna love me. I'll just let them know that I'm there to serve them. But do not start telling them about your other jobs and your other commitments. Don't do it. I don't do that. Now, as far as my boss don't care. We don't really have those conversations. My lunch and all that stuff is at my discretion. I'm a salaried employee. I'm not an hourly employee. And so I work a project base, and so as long as my projects are completed within a certain time period, that's really all my boss cares about. I work remotely. He doesn't care what time we go to lunch. He don't want to hear about that. All he wants we have weekly support reports that we submit. That's all he really cares about. So, yeah, I know everybody's employment style is different, but the only conversation I had to have with my employer was way before I even started this business. And the type of department I work in, they do want to know, like, if you have any dealings outside the department that could be a conflict of interest. Now, but what I do is not a conflict of interest to my position. If it was, then I would have to talk about it and disclose it, but because it's really not a conversation. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
being mindful of that may be a conflict of interest with some people work, but in your particular situation, this was approached to you, you have to read it, you have to look at it, you have to think. It's not a conflict of interest. And so you was able to bypass that, survey with your job. So that may be something to be mindful of if you're in a corporate. And I know a couple of times that we spoke about that. And so Legal Shield is something that I always tell people about. Like, if you don't have the necessary questions, you don't know the answer, just get on a plan. It's like $24. Speak to an attorney. They're going to call you back in 4 hours and just tell them what you do. Give them your company handbook. They will read it, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll come back with the best advice from an attorney if you ever have any question in regards to that. And that's the cheapest and effective way to kind of move in the best direction, depending on what your line of work is for your corporate.
That's good advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good advice.
That's absolutely. I have a couple more questions if you don't mind. So I also had someone said, so what was your first introduction to title? Like, going in person, and what do you really say? And they said, how do you follow up after you drop off the goodies?
So my first introduction to a title company was me doing my friend's signing. She was gracious enough to let me do her signing for her home that she purchased. And in doing so, she connected me to her real estate agent and her escrow officer. And me and that escrow officer we're friends to this day, actually. And so my introduction to the office was going to drop her the package off the next day. So I did the signing for my friend in a local office here, and then her office is, I don't know, about 30 minutes away from here. So I had to go drop the documents off to her the next morning. And I was a little nervous. I mean, of course I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect, but what I do know is that I've learned over time is that we really don't even have a reason to be nervous. We're nervous because it's like an unknown territory, but really it's like they need our service so much that they welcome us and they need us. And so we're nervous for no reason, So I walk into the office and she's there, or I'm sorry, the receptionist is there, and they go get her, and we meet in person because we've been talking over email for about a week now about my friend's purchase, and we finally get to meet in person. And it was just really just a simple small introduction. Like I said, they're always super busy and in a rush, so she kind of was just trying to get the documents from me because she needed to close this loan for my friend. So it was kind of like a quick thank you, and then I'm gonna see you later. And then the follow-ups from there were via email. There were follow-ups there via email, and she started using me after that. It wasn't really anything crazy. I did follow up with her later on that day just to make sure everything was okay with the package. You always want to do that, especially when you've done a great job on the package, you haven't made any errors. Always follow up and just say, hey, just making sure everything was good on that package. Of course, hopefully they'll say yes, and then that's going to put them in your mind again. And when I did that, she was like, I'm going to mark you as preferred, and start using you. And she did. She started
Wow.
using me after that. And I still work with her to this day. So that was my first introduction to a title company. It was really kind of simple because, like I said, I had that warm introduction, and she was one of my first signings. And I told her that like a few months ago, and she was like, I would have never known that. She was like, I had no idea that was your first, like, I don't think it was my first signing, but it was one of the first. And she was like, I would have never known that. You did such a great job. Like, if you hadn't told me that. So they don't know that they don't know all the things that are running through our minds. They have no idea, so you just have to, show up and do a great job and
Just show up. Just show up and do a great job. I
and
think
know that they need us. They're waiting for us. There's so many title companies, even big, small, they're everywhere. And most notaries don't come in. They don't introduce themselves. They don't, and they need help. So, yeah.
No, I really wanted to focus on the quality control you said. In
Oh,
your own company, you did quality control. You said the follow-up was quality control. Not only did you follow up, you said, did you receive the package? Right? That's quality control, right?
Yeah.
So for example,
correct,
yes,
with everything correct. You want to
willing
make
to
sure.
accept feedback, right?
Yes.
Like you don't know if it's good or bad when you send that email or following up, but you was willing to accept it, right?
You have to be, and feedback is so important. I'm even now it's even more important. Like I said, you get comfortable. It's been a couple years for me now, and I have some of the same clients, but I told them, as it was coming up on my anniversary, like, I want to hear from you all. Like, how can I serve you better? Because you don't want to get complacent. They're still using you, but it's like, is there anything that I need to know? Is there any feedback? Like, you want to keep those conversations going, because I have heard some scenarios where, you could be working with a client and all of a sudden they're not sending you as much business anymore or none at all. And then you don't know why, but if you keep that, door open and asking for feedback and vice versa, then you'll know, why, or you may be able to resolve something without even getting to the point where, they decide in their head, like, I'm not going to use her that much anymore because X, Y, and Z. If you're communicating and asking for feedback, then you would know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the last questions that I think we have in our chat is, what was your marketing budget? Like, did you have a marketing budget? Right? What was it? Right?
Yeah. So
what do you recommend? Like, you really starting off, you spent like over $1,000 just getting your supplies, getting your stamps, and you're telling me I got to pay more to get business? Like, what should that be?
So I want to say this. I'm really big on, you don't have to spend a ton of money. I see a lot of people out there thinking they have to spend all this money, and you could spend all this money and not get any business, or you can spend all this money and not be a good signing agent. So don't focus on that. You really need to focus on your number one gift is, providing and being able to provide a great service. But to answer your question, the marketing materials, I started off on a very low end. I have increased that over time. So now that I'm making more money, my gifts have gotten a little bigger. Like I treated all of my escrow officers to lunch to celebrate my anniversary. That wasn't cheap, because some of these offices are big and I want to feed everybody and they have a lot of people in the office, right? But when I was first starting out, it was, thank you cards from the Dollar Tree and, like a $5 Starbucks card, but one is not better than the other. They both appreciate it, both the same. You understand what I'm saying? But as my income is grown, I want to do a little bit more because I am super appreciative. My income would not be growing without them, right? So, and I'll do, those are not things that I do all the time. So I'll do, like for holidays, I'll do a bigger gift, but throughout the year, little small things, a cup of coffee or, something like that. But like a once a year thing or doing special times or holidays, I'll spend a little bit more. But you don't need a huge marketing budget. Like I said, I'm big on the Dollar Tree and things that make sense. You don't want to go bankrupt buying some gifts. That's not that's not the point of it. You know what I mean? The point is just to say thank you, even if it's just a thank you card, because a lot of people don't do that, handwritten thank you cards. Sometimes in my thank you cards, I'll write a little note specific, to that escrow officer to personalize it. That costs $1.
So would you say, like, if we can put like a dollar amount towards it, because I'm like the numbers person, would you say when you started off, your budget would be like $20 a month, or not even that? And would you say that you scaled to like,
I would say
after
20.
a year?
I would say 20 is a good number, because what I would do is go get like $5 cards, So yeah. And then, I would get a pack of thank you cards from the Dollar Tree that was like $1. It might have 6 in a pack. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I kept it on the low side. And then now, let's say this month I spent $200.
Okay.
So but
from 20 to 200, and that's over a span of 2 years, right? 24 months of that. So you weren't doing $200 versus buying baskets, doing this, doing that.
I would not
stay in your plan.
Yeah, I would not suggest that. When you're first starting out, and of course you've had your initial investment, right? Your main goal now is to turn a profit, so you want to keep your costs down, and that would be an unnecessary expense.
No, absolutely. Well, I know we went longer than expected, my love. It has been an hour of just chit-chatting and telling everybody of just life in corporate America, and coming to just the notary side, and not thinking that you can scale your business. That wasn't even the goal, right? That wasn't even the goal. You're just
so crazy.
Find something, right?
That's so crazy. Yeah, it wasn't, but here I am. Yeah,
I'm telling you, she has a boutique signing service. She has people working for her. She has a YouTube channel. She has a membership. She mentors. Okay, she has a merchant store for notaries, and she does the work herself as an agent, and has a full-time job. I mean, I can't say enough. And she got kids, something I don't got, right? So I don't know how she does it, right? But she did say, as a disclaimer, she does work until she go to sleep, okay? And that doesn't mean that she's working with her families, working loan signing, doing something, investing in her business or her personal life. So I thank you so
grace
much.
Of God. You're welcome.
So what do you have your last words to just encourage those? Because there's several people that are working in corporate and just trying to figure it out, right? And just like, I want to be Miss Robertson. Like, my life is just like hers, right? But as you took us behind the scene, life is a little bit different, right? Than what it is.
Yeah. I would encourage people to be flexible and be willing to put in the work, as I'm talking to a few of my notaries that are working for my service, sometimes I'll talk to them and call them, and they want to get to a certain level, but it's like, oh, are you available to do signings this weekend? No, I got plans already. Or, so sometimes it's like, there's going to have to be some sacrifices to get to where you want to get to. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be for free either. A lot of times, a lot of us want these quick results, without putting in the work, or on IG follow-ups, and like, well, what did you do? Did you do X, Y, and Z? Or, I have notaries now, like I said, working for my service, and let's say I'm the only service they're working for, but they say they want more signings. It's like, okay, did you go through that list of 300 other companies that I gave you? No. So I don't know. My last words are to be flexible. If you're trying to juggle job, family, and a myriad of other things, and be a business owner, you're really going to have to get creative, be flexible, and be willing to really have some tiring days. And like I said, don't think that should be forever. I don't believe we don't want to work ourselves to death, but there is going to have to be some sacrifices.
I think the key word was sacrifice and consistency and following up, right? If you did a coaching call with someone, right, you have a mentor and they're giving you the gems that to be successful, you got to follow up on your own, right? You can't come back and say, no, I didn't do the companies that you told me to sign up to, but I want to be just like you, right? Walking into somebody else's footsteps, it takes work, but it's so rewarding, right? Because who she has an empire and she's paying it forward to other notaries, showing them that, hey, you can do both if that's what you want, right? So thank you. And it was such a delight. I really appreciate you. You're welcome. There you have it, you guys. The person I speak to about all the time. If she can do it, I know anyone else can do it, right? But it takes work.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Bye. See you later.
Bye.